Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Coming to you on a little bit of a rainy morning today.
It is, man, and it's we're now into the era where it's really dark this time. I like this time change, but
Yes.
super dark now.
Well, and I I have kind of a I don't know, the time change. I'm not sure that I love either one more than the other. I don't like the flipping flopping back and forth.
Well, didn't you see where they proposed?
Well, that's what I was going to bring up to you today. Yeah,
Oh, is
the
that the topic you were
yeah,
going to?
well, it was a little bit of a current news that kind of tied into ag because you see some people that are kind of trying to be comedians, and I'll joke about it, that are saying, "Oh yeah, screw the farmers. We're going to quit changing time." And I just think to myself, I'm like, I don't know that it, to me, which I'm not a full time farmer, I still have my regular job I have to go to at a set time every day. But I would think the time doesn't matter much to you at all, like what the numbers on the clock say.
No, we still got the same amount of daylight.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you start, when harvest comes, y'all, y'all get the combine in the field once the dew dries off. And yeah, the daylight tells you you can go and you run until,
Well, that's what I've never understood. Like I've
I mean,
never gotten the.
y'all still have to do a lot of banking and watching the markets. You got to wait till they open and to do stuff. And having kids and all, it affects you because if you're not getting home till 10 p.m.,
Yeah.
you may not get to put them in bed during those long harvest days. Whereas if it got dark a whole lot earlier and you were getting home at 8 p.m., well, yeah, but yeah, I was like, I don't know, maybe a long 100 years ago it was, but I've never really researched the topic enough to totally understand where the original logic and flopping back and forth mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people love this time of year, and I mean I do. I like this time of year just because it's getting warm and more enjoyable to be outside. But because it's light later in the evening, it's like, well, that's great and all, but like we didn't really change anything. I mean,
No, it didn't.
now I do because it was getting to where prior to this time change, my morning chores, I was getting to where I was doing. It was daylight, or at least getting pretty light by the time I was done. And a lot of days, because I carry my big light with me, spotlight, if I'm having to do anything in the mornings, and I was getting where I wasn't even needing to carry it with me anymore.
Yeah.
We got lights in the barn and stuff, and now it's back to yeah.
Yeah.
Which days are getting a lot longer, for us here anyway. So
My wife don't like it because when she leaves
yeah, she
work,
drives.
freaking pitch black.
Well, and that's one thing I thought about. I was like, well, if this does pass, because like right now, once time changes in the fall, yeah, it's dark whenever I leave work every day. It gets
Yeah.
dark at what 4:45 or so around here, and so our office closes at 5:30. It's well past dark by the time we leave. We never really get there in the dark though. It's
Starting to get,
yeah, it's not real daylight, but and now in the wintertime, I guess, I mean, wouldn't be too hard to research it, but I imagine at least a lot of my staff that gets there a little earlier than I do, like it'll be dark when they get there. So, I mean, I mean, it'll still be daylight when they leave, though.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get tied up too late, there'll be some days, I'm sure. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like time is just numbers on a clock, I
It
don't
is, yeah. I mean, and like you said, it's honestly, it's kind of funny because the numbers really mean nothing to a farmer because
right.
we don't work like a,
Yeah, nothing you're doing other than like, stuff that's off the farm,
yeah.
you know.
And now I would say, years ago, I get it, but like now, like you say with the markets, I mean, I've got an app on my phone. I
Right,
can
yeah,
like do it all. I can be in a combine or in a tractor marketing and doing everything right there. So like, years
yeah,
ago I get it where like if a dude physically had to leave the field
yeah,
and go to like a place of business to do something like
yeah, or even just
go
go
to
to
the
the
bank or whatever.
yeah, or go to the house to get a landline phone to call the
Yeah.
elevator to book, market grain or something like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, your office is in a tractor now, and you can conduct just about whatever business you want to right there.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, you could say we're going to totally screw with things. We're going to jump forward 4 hours. Well, we would just all adjust,
Yep.
and yeah, we might, yeah, everything businesses would. So I don't, yeah, I do like the idea of not switching all the time.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just because and I don't know, it's only it throws off your routine for what 2 or 3 days. Now it's like now I fully expect it's gonna be dark in the mornings while I'm doing my
Well,
chores,
and
but I get home in the evenings, and you know, it has been nice, on that side for sure because I've gotten more stuff done in the evenings than I normally would
yeah.
these last 3 or 4 days.
Well, that's what the one adjustment for me always is I have to try to like okay, like I can get caught up in the fact that it's still daylight outside. And like if I haven't cooked, like if Marcy's at work and I haven't figured out dinner plans and I'm like just still outside piddling around, and I look down, I'm like, oh crap, it's like 7:30 or
Well,
something,
yeah, and so your twins and my youngest are the same age, and yeah, I mean, we try to have mine in bed by 8:30 at the latest,
Yeah.
and yeah, this has totally screwed that up the last few days. I've one night, oh, of course, your cell phone, all that stuff changes automatically, but I always set my coffee maker the night before. I
Yeah.
always set the auto that way coffee's ready as soon as I walk in there. And I was looking at the coffee maker and I saw it. It said it was like 9 o'clock. I was like, oh, good deal. It's not that late at all. And I was messing around and whatever. And then I got in bedroom or did something. I looked at my watch and it
10
was
o'clock.
10:15. And I was like, what in the world? I was
Yeah.
like, oh God. But yeah, yeah, me nowadays with it getting, it's pretty much, yeah. My kids have trouble going to bed some nights. They're like, it's still daylight outside. It's 8 o'clock. You gotta go to
Yeah.
bed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny. My chickens are, that's another one there. Cause we used to would gather the eggs and stuff. Like you could get them at a decent time. Now it's like, man, I can't even gather the freaking eggs until like 8 o'clock or something.
Well, it annoys me with my chickens too, because yeah, if I let them out during the day, like I have to go back down to our barn at dusk because they're not going
Yeah.
back on the roost until it gets dark. And so yeah, now I have to, because some days, I like to get my barn chores done, get in the house and relax for the evening, which I don't know. I don't know. It's 300 or 400 yard walk back down to the barn to put
But
the
still,
chickens up
if
at
it's
dark.
raining or something like that, yeah.
Oh yeah, well it's just some days you just had a long day. You get in the house, pour you a drink, and you want to enjoy supper and just kick your feet back. And you're like, ah, crap, I got to walk back down to the barn again to put
Yeah.
the chickens up. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I saw something that said like years ago they actually tried to do this and it went over like a turd in a punch bowl.
well, that's kind of what I saw some of the reading. That yeah, don't get your hopes up too much just yet. But apparently, did it already pass the Senate? Was the
I
big
think
deal
so.
yesterday? And so now it's got to go to the House, and then I guess Mr. Magoo has the option to veto it or whatever after that. Which
Did you see where he
more
called?
and more, yeah, he really has no clue
No.
what is going on around him. Which I mean, he obviously has his cabinet, and you kind of always wonder how much singular power does one person have. They got advisors and all around him, but he really has no idea which direction is up. I think a lot of days, and it's sad. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is. And unfortunately, and kind of this, wartime, or whatever. Thankfully, we're not in war yet, but you can see where our adversaries, or not even necessarily adversaries, I guess, but other world leaders, like really don't give two shits what he thinks, and don't
No,
even
no, it's
like who was it, Saudi Arabia or somebody wouldn't even take his call to talk about oil or something.
yeah.
It's
Well,
like
and the bad thing, do you see where I think it was Saudi Arabia is now dealing with Russia?
yeah, and I mean
Um,
yeah,
but
because
they're doing it with the currency used either Russian currency or Arabian currency. They've always done it with the American dollar.
yeah,
And I just saw that this morning actually. It was like really, I'm gonna tell you, man, there's some like really concerning stuff going down right now. Like the a lot of the currency, which our dollar used to be so strong, and like what they were saying in the last 22, I think in the last 22 months, maybe even less than that, 80%. All right, so I want to make sure that I say this so that people grasp it. Like 80% of the current dollars that are in circulation, like American dollars, were printed within the last 22 months.
Yeah, that's insane.
That is insane. Like that, it was talking about how weak the dollar has become because they just keep pumping money out. And it's like, and then it kills me because Biden and them guys will get up there and they're like, it has nothing to do with inflation. It's because of this Russian thing, and the pipelines. Like,
Well, and the whole like fuel thing, and obviously fuel has gotten ridiculous over this last 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. But I mean, at least around here, every time you go to the gas pump, those Biden stickers of "I did that" have been there forever.
they have.
So pretty much since just about day one of his administration, gas prices have been ticking up.
Yep.
And people, again, at least around here in the Mid-South, have it hasn't gone unnoticed. Which I mean, we're in an area that did not support him at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You get into blue parts of the country, maybe
Well,
they're a little more.
I talked to a guy that his wife is a liberal, and he said that they were riding around and saw the gas prices, and he said she was actually like, yeah, I don't think we made the right decision here.
And you're starting to see more and more of like the big liberal celebrities that are, I guess it was who's it, Trevor Noah? What is he? Is he like the Daily Show or something?
Oh yeah. What is he endorsing something?
Well, he just had a clip, and of course I don't, like I say all the time, we don't even have TV as far as, but it was, people were sharing it because obviously it really resonated with all the conservative crowd. He was pretty much saying, it may have even had to do with like the Saudi Arabians refusing to talk to Biden. They're like, he said this would have never happened under Trump.
Yeah.
And I mean, and this guy's
Trevor Noah is a raging liberal. Yeah.
Which he's like from South Africa. It's like, why do we even worry about his opinion here in this country?
Like Pierce Morgan.
Yeah. But he was like, this would not have happened under Trump. He's like, and he was like, look, I don't know if he put the disclaimer, like I'm not a supporter of Trump, but said like they would, because they didn't know what Trump was going to do. Which, I mean, is good and bad, but I mean,
yeah,
it's like they would not have ignored us with him. He spoke from a position of power. And he, whether it was real or not, like in perception matters.
Yeah. Well, what is it though? You listen to much Jordan Peterson?
I really respect him. Just because I don't have enough hours in the day with what I already try to listen to regularly. No, I do. I usually catch him, especially like when he's on with Rogan.
Yeah.
Which I think they did another one recently that was like, 4 or 5 hours or something. I'm not.
Something. I actually heard it. I heard they got real argumentative, but
I think he's pretty brilliant.
Well, he's got a quote that he says, if you think strong men are dangerous, wait till you see what weak men are capable of.
Oh, yeah.
And we're seeing that 100% with Biden because Trump, it's kind of hilarious. Trump, everyone was like, he's going to start the next world war. And then it's like, well, Biden actually is so weak, nobody has any fear or respect for us.
Oh, everything they thought Trump was going to do. I mean, not everything, but so much of it is now happening. It's always, well, the even bigger comparison is like their sons.
Yeah.
Like Hunter Biden is exactly who the media wanted Don Jr. to be.
Yes.
Like just this degenerate.
Smoking Parmesan cheese.
Yeah. Crackhead, just, knocking up strippers. Like he's exactly who the media just was dying for Donald Trump Jr. to be so that they could, just shred him.
Yeah.
Like, no, Don Jr.'s apparently a
pretty good dude.
Relatively upstanding guy for what we know. And like Hunter Biden is like openly, and look, I feel for anybody dealing with substance abuse or whatever. We've all know people that are going through that, but it's like now he gets a pass because he gets this liberal privilege, which I think isn't that the name of Don Jr.'s book, Liberal Privilege?
It may be. Yeah, I think it actually might be.
I mean, that literally, it's you get a pass. So, but anyway, maybe enough politics for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's, maybe we just, that's the time. I guess one more current event before we dive into our kind of topics. Have you when's the last time you went to a movie?
Okay, it was. I never can remember. I need to look what came up. It was either No Country for Old Men or The Blind Side, the Michael Oher story. Yeah,
Damn, yeah, that is a
it
long
was one of
time
those
ago.
two. Well, I can tell you, No Country for Old Men because I remember the theater we were at. It was when I was in school,
Yeah.
and so that would have been '09 or earlier.
I was gonna say that movie came out in like '08 or
I, I
'09.
would I would I would bet it was probably 2008. 'Cause I graduated like in May of
It's a
'09.
great movie to see in a theater, though. It's a
It was.
badass movie.
It was weird. Like we were in the theater. 'Cause, of course, that movie just ends.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lady, or I couldn't remember if it was a man or a woman, like had, I don't know if it was like a seizure or
In
a
the movie?
hypoglycemic. Yeah, in the theater. So they had to stop the movie. And like we were, like people were attending to this person. They ended up being okay, thankfully. But all the lights came on. Like, I think we even may have left, the theater part. But anyway, we get settled back down and sit down and you finish watching the movie. And then the movie ends. You're like,
Did
it just
somebody
so
else?
abruptly ends. Like, wait a second, did something else happen? And like, or was that really the end of the movie?
Yeah,
But no, that is a great movie. But yeah, it's one that makes you think. Like
it
you do a
is.
lot of thinking after that movie.
Oh, I love that movie, man. That's one of my favorites. Well, Marcy and I recently, like I had not been in a few years, and then I was like, let's go to the movies. And because they've actually fixed up the Toka Theater.
I drive by there a lot of times, and I'm like, is that place even open?
Oh,
There's
it wouldn't
never
hardly be
anybody
anybody there, but
which I guess the whole Netflix and streaming.
well,
That's
they've messed it up. But I'll tell you the good thing: several of the latest movies now are going back to theater only because they
right.
were doing that thing where it was theater or on demand. Like the Jungle Cruise, my kids wanted to watch it with The Rock, and like it was it was in theaters or you could get it on demand. Now we waited because if you did the on demand, it was $30 for this movie,
Well,
and
compared to going to the theater,
well, that's
yeah,
what at first
yeah.
my wife was like, I guess we can wait. I'm like, well, if we took the kids to the theater to see it, we'd spend $40. And she was like, and so we just waited. But I'll tell you, man, they got recliners now in the Toka Theater.
Well, and I figured if they could go to something more like that, yeah,
It's pretty nice.
smaller audience but more of a luxurious experience. You're seeing like
Yeah, they give you champagne. There's like a waiter that comes by.
I they
There are some.
sporting events are going more to that where it's you see a lot of these stadiums, they're going to smaller capacity but a more luxurious,
Like a
bigger
experience.
seating,
Yeah.
yeah, and that sort of thing because, well, yeah, I mean, and that's been a thing in the sporting world just because I follow some sports really closely. They've been dealing with, of course, obviously COVID jacked everything up, but getting crowds back into stadiums. I mean, now everybody has a freaking 70-inch flat screen.
Yeah.
More well-to-do people have like for like football season have like a huge outdoor like patio with
Yeah.
the outdoor TV, and yeah, you can sit there and
You can cook and
yeah, you
drink
got the
and
grill.
everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, you can drink beers for about $1 a pop rather than $8 a
Yeah.
pop at the stadium, and you got the pool right there. Yeah, if you got kids and you want to entertain, and so, but
Well, I'll tell you though, so the first movie we went back to see though was a nostalgic, it took me back. It was Jackass Forever. The
okay,
new, the new one. Cause I mean, I'm sure you watched Jackass
yeah,
and I did too. I love Jackass. And so it's like one of those it just took me back. I will say the new one shows an insane amount of wieners I was not quite prepared for. But
I'm afraid it would make it. So is it all the original characters?
yeah, for the most part. I mean, obviously Ryan Dunn's dead, and Bam Margera was not in it.
So I imagine it would make me feel really old to see how old
Yeah,
they
because Johnny
are.
Knoxville has white hair.
Yeah,
Like he has white hair, but he gets like killed by a bull. Like there's one part, man. Some of you can tell there's a few younger guys now that have joined the crew,
well,
and they
they
kind
have
of
to. Yeah.
oh yeah, and they kind of let them do a lot of the stuff that would probably break these other. Because I mean, Johnny Knoxville's like 50 something, so like it'd probably break his hip. But now he got wrecked by a bull, man. He did this one where he goes out there and he like puts this top hat on. It's supposed to have like milk in it, and he's not supposed to spill any of the milk. And this bull comes flying in there, and it hits him, and he spins in the air, and he lands on his head. He broke his wrist, and he got a hematoma, like he was bleeding on the brain or something, and like he was in the hospital. They wheeled him out in a wheelchair, and he didn't even remember what's going on. And he's like, did you get it? Did you get it on camera? And they're like, you did great, man. It looks awesome. So
That sounds about like them.
yep. Well, man, it was actually nice. I went and saw the Batman. And that's what I was curious. So you haven't seen that one. I was curious your
Well,
thoughts on it.
and like I couldn't even tell you that these movies were out. It's
Yeah.
you know, I've seen people, bring up the interesting, debate now with all the streaming services and all the cable networks. You see these really kind of more niche TV shows, but that are really, really well done.
Like Yellowstone or something?
Yeah, like Yellowstone and I guess maybe even Game of Thrones prior to
Yeah.
that are that are ongoing and I guess movies have really been on decline as far as the quality and interest as now that we've had more, I guess just TV shows and series that can be really more specific in a very tight genre or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Well, and I think
described that
people
really.
like the long form now.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, Batman was 3 hours long.
yeah. Well. See, I can't get my wife and I haven't asked her in a while, but used to be like, hey, let's go, get grab something quick to eat and go watch a movie. And she was always no. But she, like, yeah, I think it's because she usually just falls asleep during movies. And so
Yeah.
she's like, no, that's if I want to watch a movie, I'll just fall asleep on the couch watching
At
it.
home, yeah.
And so, yeah, of course, now with kids, it's, we don't get a whole lot of date nights, but it's usually, we want to go somewhere, get a good meal. And by the time we're done eating, like, we sure ain't seeing a 9 o'clock movie. And now we got to go grab some fast food, make it to the 7 p.m.
Yeah. That's what we did. We went to like I think we saw Jackass at like 6:30 or 7.
Yeah.
Or no, we actually went even at 5, I think, and then we went and ate afterwards.
Yeah.
I kind of had a later dinner, but man, I don't know. Now that's so not a ag start out really. I mean, we kind of did politics is around everything, but so we got an interesting topic here, and it's on the solar, the green world that you're seeing this push to, and I actually had a guy that I'd like for us to get on the podcast at some point. We've talked about, but he was talking about biodiesel as well. Like he asked if we had any of that around here, and I can't say that I can even think of anywhere where you can get it, but like
Yeah.
it was a big price difference. Like a regular fuel for the farm at the time in comparison, I was probably even higher now. It was like $4.10 a gallon. I don't think had we talked about that.
We mentioned it a little last week that
Okay.
you had talked with him about.
That's right. Okay, I was gonna say we may have mentioned that, but it was like a $2 difference almost, and so
Well, and my immediate question there is that a real difference or is that because I always wonder about all the government money being pumped in
like
to these.
subsidies to them.
Yeah. And so it's like, is that really like we're propping it up so much? Is it really that sustainable? And that's one of my biggest fears, like with solar and wind and all that stuff. Because you hear, they get so much government money to put in these things. Would it otherwise never get off the ground? And I understand, you got to start somewhere and it may not make sense economically at first, but then eventually as the technology and efficiency with it, whatever gets better, 50 years from now or whatever, do we, replace, much of our fossil fuels? I don't know, but that's, the whole, displacing farmland and stuff with the solar panel farms. Man, you see some pictures and I just, oh man, it's just an eyesore. And I mean,
Oh yeah, it is.
is it, and I kind of got to thinking even deeper on that one. Like, well, obviously we drive past a cornfield or a cotton field or whatever, and, in the middle of the summer, we think, oh man, that's pretty. Was there a
Mm,
time whenever that wasn't natural? You know, because I
yeah,
mean, obviously monocropping is not really natural.
yeah.
You know, in 100 years from now, do people drive past solar panel farms and think,
That is so pretty.
man, it's so awesome that we're harnessing the sun's energy. And
Our meat that's grown in a lab is so tasty. Looking at these solar panels.
well, right, yeah, at some point you've got to quit because yeah, we've still got to have the acres to produce
Food,
food.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, energy is important. You know, can't live without food. I mean, we made it what, how many hundreds of thousands to millions of years without electricity,
Yeah.
but
Well, that's what I
we
was
never
gonna
made it
say.
without food.
Yeah, you can. That's exactly what I was sitting here thinking to myself. I'm like, at the end of the day, you don't have to have lights. Like, there's
Right.
candles. You can burn candles. You gotta have food. Um, and I mean, so man, I don't know. The solar panel thing, and it's something that's
Well, and my one of my biggest concerns is, I guess if some solar power company came into me and offered me some huge price for my farm, to buy it. If they buy it from me or whatever, I'm out. But are there some deals where they'll lease the land, or because I would have extreme concerns with how are they, say we sign a 10-year, 20-year lease, whatever. What happens after that? I'm sure that's in the fine print somewhere and they discuss it. And I'm sure they're going to
yeah.
tell you. But, do they then, if you then decide, okay, our lease is up, I want to put this back into farm production, do they take everything out? Is there
I
is there
don't know.
anything, is
I
the soil, are there chemicals that leach out that, you
so
know,
there is. Did you read? Did you
well,
see
I,
where it
I
was
have
at?
read there's some concerns with that. And then, these panels aren't easy to dispose of because,
Yeah.
and obviously they don't have a, infinite lifetime as far as their usefulness. How do you get rid of them? What do you do with them? Um, yeah, I mean, does it just become a wasteland? I mean, yeah, because that immediately turns me off.
Yeah, that's what when I was kind of researching it, it did say like which one. I know a lot of them do options. They do like a 5 or 10 year option to where they can do something like, um, but on the waste side, what I read, it said most of them end up in a landfill, and like that stuff like never is going to hardly deteriorate because it's 90. I think it said it was 90% glass, but then it also has there's the like, I mean, it'd be almost like carcinogenic, whatever, if I'm saying that right,
Yeah, that's right.
chemicals that are in here. And it said that the rainwater and stuff washes them and it leaches into the ground.
See, I guess it's the conspiracy theorist in me, but it's like the government's involved. Like people are just
Yeah, it's way too much.
using
Yeah.
this as a means to, yeah, extract money from the government, and they're getting rich off something that really, A, may not ever make sense, from efficiency and economic standpoint. And B, is it really good for the next 500, 1,000, 10,000 years for the planet?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because it just, I have a lot of questions, and I don't always, or I guess I don't ever feel like that the powers that be necessarily have the
Our
best,
best interest in mind. Yeah.
best intentions.
Yeah. Well, see, and this has been something that's definitely been on my mind because after this year, I'm pretty much going to lose probably my best farm to solar
Right.
panels.
You had mentioned that, yeah. And that one, the solar power company, whatever, bought it, didn't they?
Yes, they
Okay.
bought it, and I mean, and it's when Biden won the election, they bought it. Like this has been ongoing, and it's crazy, man. I drove past a solar farm to go to this farm. Like it was already a solar farm right there near it, and it's a pretty big farm. It's ugly. Like I said, Dad and I are like that just looks ugly, and
Yeah,
like it's
if I had a nice house or something across the road from there, I wouldn't want to stare at that for
no,
the rest of
no,
my life.
and so man, it's several hundred acres right there. Like everybody in that area has signed up for it. And I'll throw some creed to my landowner out there. He was the last one, man. He was like John Dutton it as hard as he could. And then Biden won. Like, he kept telling them no. Like, there was several of them, dude, the minute the cash started coming at them, they were like, "Oh, yeah, man, all right," and, like, couldn't wait, and they've been, like, they, like, go to they when they pray at night, they pray that this will hurry up and go through so they can get that cash. There's several of them like that. My landowner, he was like, "I don't like you sons of bitches." Like, he, like, told them when they called him, he was like, "I hate you Silicon Valley sons of bitches," and, like, they just kept hounding him, and he called me. Man, he called me after Biden got in. It had been like a couple months, and he was like, "Man, I've been dreading calling you." And I said, "What happened?" And he was like, "Man," he said, "they just finally," he said, "they finally got me." And I mean, it gets to a point where the first phone call, they're probably offering you, 6,000 an acre. The second phone call, they might offer you 8,000 an acre. And then hell, they might offer you 10, 12, $15,000. They just keep on. Like, you tell them no and they just keep on. And then he kind of found himself in a position where everyone around him had signed. So his farm was like the only farm that was not going to be solar panels. And he was like, dude, the value of my land was going to drop like crazy
Yeah, it was
because
going to only be useful.
yeah, like no, and like you said, nobody would be interested in coming and building to live there because who wants to live surrounded by solar panels?
Yeah.
And so he was like, he finally did sign it, and
Yeah, and I can't blame somebody in that situation at all. I worry, does that solar company or whatever, do they come in there and, obviously they've got a huge investment, but over the next, I don't know how many years it takes them to make their money back and maybe even double, triple, whatever they made their profits. And I guess they still own the land, then just poof, they're gone.
yeah,
We don't care that it looks like a wasteland here, that's an eyesore. It's, I'm sure they, obviously while it's up and running and functioning, they're, maintaining it, keeping I guess that somebody has to go in there and mow around them
yeah,
or
man, that'd be a
whatever.
terrible job.
Well, and to kind of tie it a little bit into ag, a little more. I mean, that's pretty well directly tied into ag already. But I'd actually was listening to somebody being interviewed on another podcast. This may have been a year ago. I think it may have been in Canada, but they actually they grazed. I can't remember if it was sheep or goats. They're all the same to me. But they would go to these solar panel farms. I guess they were all fenced in, or maybe they would put up like temporary electric fencing, and they
Yeah,
would graze their sheep and goats there.
around the solar panels.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it was mutually beneficial. Obviously, their animals got to eat, and then it kept all the weeds down. You couldn't do it with cattle, I'm sure, because I've never been up close to a solar panel, but
that'd get destroyed.
yeah, they'd be big enough. They'd
They'd
rub
start
on it,
scratching. Yeah,
yeah, scratching and yeah, you
because
have to
they turn with the sun.
right, yeah, to follow it. But and that was another thing I followed, which obviously we're I mean we're not on the equator or anything by any means, but in one article I read was talking about, I think it must have been an article from a northern state. I think it was talking about Minnesota. It's like they don't, they're far enough north. Like during the winter, they basically get nothing
Yeah,
out of them, because of course they get covered in snow and ice too. And yeah, they really, I forget what the number was, like what percentage of the time they're actually able to capture and, you know, create energy for us. And it just wasn't there.
yeah.
Like it didn't make any sense. So,
Well, that's what I've definitely found myself wondering about. If these companies, like, let's say we get somehow Biden makes it for till his term is done, and hopefully his he gets the boot, and we have a right wing back in there, and he cuts the funding to
right. Well,
that
I
kind of
don't,
stuff.
if it's efficient, it makes sense. And that's one thing. If it's only existing because we're funneling our tax dollars into it and helping
Yeah,
these, companies, get rich off the government basically. But I don't know that you kind of think, what, I mean, it's awesome to think of if we can just use sunlight to
oh
power
yeah,
the world. Like that sounds incredible. And then when you look at, I mean, you have a globe sitting right there, and what's the is it 2/3, 3/4 of the Earth is covered by water, the ocean, or whatever.
yeah.
If you could somehow, create a way,
To harness the power of the ocean.
well, yeah, not even just that, but I don't know. I guess it wouldn't make sense. Somehow have a floating like group of panels, which Lord, that would be a
Oh yeah, you
disaster.
could just yeah
Yeah,
cover.
yeah, something a storm would come through and you'd leak all kinds of toxic chemicals into the ocean. So yeah, not a completely thought out idea yet, but somehow if you could make a panel, and I don't know, I mean, who knows what the future holds? You know,
Yeah,
100 years ago, would they have thought what we can do with the internet? And
you might have just
somehow
inspired
you
somebody.
could expand, an enormous set of panels that cover acres and acres, and then collapse. I don't know.
It
It's
would, you know, well, I mean, that is interesting to think about though. Like now that I'm looking around at the little globe here, um, because I mean, yeah, you look at how small the land mass is. Like looking at the country here, like this is that like in comparison to the water.
yeah, the Pacific
I
Ocean, like
mean,
out there is.
it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, instead if they could figure out a way to yeah make it work in the ocean, I mean,
We're
but
not, and of course, in a way that wouldn't be potentially leaking
yeah,
chemicals, and
and
I don't
like
know if that's even possible because obviously, well, and then how do you get that energy back to land where, yeah, I do not understand any of this really.
I do know, like this, my watch is you charge it and it also can charge solar.
Yeah,
And I do like that because, like at night when I get in and I take a shower, I'll take my watch off and I'll plug it in. And if I've been working outside, it typically will be at 100% every time when I plug it in.
that is pretty neat. Yeah,
So I like that, and I'm like, you know, because I bought that with the idea that like if I ever were a castaway, I would at least still have my watch and be able to like keep up with it
right.
with the time. But like man, I mean, and so that's it's not that I'm anti solar. Like even with this the green push on the electric stuff, I still I mean I love a rumbling motor and like I enjoy a straight pipe. I got a straight pipe on my trucks and I always ran them. Like I love nothing will ever beat that sound. Like that old truck out there that I've got a motor for if I ever finish it. But I put a pretty big cam in it. So it'll have kind of that loping V8 in it. And I mean you just can't beat that. But I'm not opposed to an electric vehicle. Like if they made a truck like I'm not a
Oh
fan
yeah,
of Elon's truck like we talked about. It's a weird looking truck. But you know, if we get to a point where that like, you know, the truck I really like, they put an electric motor in there and it's got the power that I want. And it's like and it's realistic when it comes to charging it. Like one of the things I did get a kick out of, and I'm pretty sure it was in California. They had their charging stations for these things and there was diesel generators powering the stations because they might have had like an outage or
right.
something.
Well, that's what people don't understand. It's like they were interviewing somebody sometime. They were asking like, "Well, where's the electricity come from?" They're like, "You just plug it in."
Yeah.
Like, no, no, no. What generates the electricity?
Yeah.
Like we're still using fossil fuels. Like it's, and yeah. Some people just
See,
don't have.
if they could figure out a way to make like solar panels so efficient that you could have like the charging stations and you could have like one big solar panel at every charging station and the panel itself was producing the electricity needed to charge, that would make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and then it comes down to, well, how long does it take to charge too?
See, Robert, when he was in California, he said it took 4 hours because he
See,
said
that's
dudes would be like,
well,
like hanging out.
and that's, I mean, that's impossible.
It
Like, I
is.
mean, you're gonna go on a family vacation, be like, all right,
It's going to take
we
us.
don't have enough charge to get there. We're gonna have to stop and halfway, and y'all kids can play on the playground for 3 or 4 hours.
I guess that's just something they could do. Like it'd be if one guy wanted to try to like really make some cash, he could start buying some land right by these charging stations and put like a rest area playground for kids or like an amusement park so you could
Oh yeah,
go to charge your car and like your kids could run out and play at the amusement park.
yeah, but it's yeah. I think, and obviously you have to start somewhere to get to that point, and so I understand some of this may be just an investment for may not even happen in our lifetimes where these things are that efficient. But I don't know. Last year during the old polar vortex, and it was in Texas. A lot of Texas, like their power grid, like went down because,
Yeah.
and a lot of it they said was because there had been so so many subsidies and what to divert to wind and solar energy that a lot of like the natural gas and whatnot had gone away from some of these areas.
Yeah.
And it showed at a picture, and it was a helicopter. They were spraying some, I guess, like a de-icer
On
on a wind turbine, trying to de-thaw it because they got all that ice stored. It's like, how much sense does this make? We got a helicopter that's
flying with fuel. Yeah.
aligned with the fossil fuels. It's made from fossil fuels, spraying a chemical that is made by fossil fuels on a turbine that was probably made using fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Also, we can get this thing turning again to create a little wind energy. Like we burnt way more fossil fuels trying to get to a green energy source than if we had just used the natural gas or
Yeah.
whatever to begin with to power
Well,
our and heat our homes.
and everything to me too is like everything we use is essentially like petroleum based. Like that's what some like I was talking to a dude, actually the episode that dropped 20 minutes ago. We talked a little bit about it, like people tweeting from their phones about how we need to go green, and he's like they're using like a phone that's petroleum based. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
there's products in there that are from fossil fuels and like they like that.
Oh well, and like they're protesting on the street wearing using signs. You know what your Sharpie marker is made out of? Plastic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just people. Yeah, people just want to be outraged and
They do. Yeah, it's the age of outrage that we live in. But I don't know, man. In regards to all the solar panel stuff, it's again, I'm not against this push for the efficient and clean energy. I mean, I am, and it's a thing that does irritate me. Is I've kind of called myself almost a green Republican because it's almost this weird thing where if you're a conservative, it's like you also can't be a friend of the environment.
right.
And like, and I know, and farmers, it's so strange because you would think like farmers would actually be like the greenest people there are. But I do know some guys that are farmers that couldn't give two shits about the environment. It's like, this is really where we make our living. And
They've got to be the fringe though. I mean, because I just yeah, the whole green movement is it's been just completely hijacked by nuts,
yeah,
extremists. And there's always the extremists kind of get all the attention in any group, but yeah, if it's efficient and I would just really love to see like wind and solar. Like if you took away all the subsidies, talk to some expert economist, whatever. Does it make sense? Like, does it produce enough energy to pay for itself
yeah,
and then some? Like, or maybe it doesn't today, but is there like the efficiencies are getting better and better and better where it's on the horizon where it will be? And if so, good deal. But yeah, the whole weird thing where oh yeah, you can't be a Republican and care about the environment, but it's the whole climate change. Like yes, the climate is changing. My personal opinion is that and we as human beings have some impact on it. I think we have far less
yeah.
impact than a lot of people want us to believe. Like our existence is important. We all matter in the grand scheme of this planet and our solar system and whatnot. We don't matter that much.
No, no, that's whenever you look in, like when you get down to the nuts and bolts, like even to the like meticulous rotation of the earth and like the set angle that it's at or whatever, like when you see that level, which I mean, both of us are Christians, so we do believe there is a greater power that
Yeah.
has set everything in motion that has this. So like when I think about that, and I mean, some people probably would call that a cop out, but I'm like, it is what it is. Like, yeah, and also it's as much heat as we get here, like in America, we are leaps and bounds better. Like
Yeah.
if you look at China, it's
Oh,
like smog like everywhere. Like
China and India and like just Asia in general. Yeah. And I don't know. I just, every time they try to blame something, like we're blaming it on cows. Well, did cows cause the dinosaurs to go extinct?
yeah,
Did did my diesel truck cause dinosaurs to go extinct? Like, I guarantee you, if dinosaurs had gone extinct in the last 20 years, people would they would have hard evidence that that's what caused it.
Yeah.
We've got to ban these things. Like, no, I mean, unfortunately, that's the natural evolution of the earth. Like the climate changes. Like things change, and yeah, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do things about it. Heck, people make fun of me. Uh, I'm probably a little more of a hippie than people would think. My wife even gets annoyed. I recycle the heck out of stuff. Like I just, I hate the idea. Like you're talking about the landfills, but just all the garbage. It just, like, man, it just goes in. Like it just
Goes
out
on the
there just
ground.
being
Yep.
waste. Some of it breaks down over time, but enough if I can recycle stuff and
Well, see, and that's the thing with like the solar panels because like there's farms we work and you'll find like you'll be messing around, you'll see something in the dirt and you might find and it'll be an old piece of like broken glass from like a long time ago where there
yeah,
used to be a house there or something. I mean, I'm talking like 100 years ago or longer. And that glass is there.
yeah,
That glass will never break down.
right,
Like, and so that's what I think about because the panels are made 90% glass. So I mean, you can chunk them in a landfill. They ain't going nowhere. Like that's going to always be there.
yeah.
And
It's
no, and I'm with you, man. I'm like, I've kind of got that, which used to, it was like almost, it's gotten more cool to be a hippie now, even as a right wing guy than it used to be. Used to, it was like, you couldn't give a shit about the environment and be like, if you did, you were like a super Democrat, like liberal
yeah,
weirdo, like a flower child or something,
yeah,
dropping LSD at like Woodstock or
yeah.
something.
I hate the idea of throwing stuff away just to be gone. And I don't know. I guess I'm equally you're throwing away a milk jug and thinking or recycling it and like yeah, it's going to be. I don't understand any of the process, but
I don't
the
know.
idea at least that it's going to be turned back into something else, plastic that can be used again. And
Yeah. Well, that's
I know
one
some
of,
people are like, "Oh, that recycling bin, they just take it to the landfill and just empty it."
yeah.
Like, well, I don't know if they do or not, but I guess I'm trusting county public works to actually
Well, that's
recycle it.
that is one of the cool things where like I remember I used to have a coffee cup and I think my wife might have finally got rid of it because I like accumulate coffee cups, but it was made from corn. And at the bottom on the bottom of it, it'd be like, this product was made from corn.
Yeah,
And I always thought that was pretty neat. But like, that's one of my favorite things with like I've been wanting to get rid of my goats. But like if we have some leftovers, like any sort of leftover salad, if we have anything that goes bad,
yeah.
dude, them freaking goats, they're like a
Oh yeah,
recycle bin on that.
chickens are good for a lot of that too.
Yeah, I'll give them like crackers and stuff that go bad.
Any like fruit and vegetable waste, or you know, we ate broccoli last night, the stems or whatever. But that or I compost it. Oh yeah,
I've thought about doing a compost.
all my eggshells, things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
But yeah, man, I don't know. We're in an interesting time. Bobby Lee and neither one of us are experts on the green thing.
no,
I'm I'm not opposed to seeing where it goes, but I am opposed to losing all of our farmland because we're already losing
right.
it.
And it just the big issue I have still is like how much of this is all just a creation of like subsidies and people taking advantage of government money out there, which Lord, farmers can be can fall right into that.
Well, I almost said that earlier. I was actually thinking like if your business, I don't care if it's solar panels, I don't care if it's farming. If your business relies on government funding to survive, then your business needs to die. Like I'm just going to be brutal. It's like to me that's actually natural selection
Oh yeah,
trying to
it's
happen.
exactly what it is. Yeah.
And like, I've always said the guy that needs to read a warning label on like if I'm going to use some like muriatic acid or something to clean my traps, to get the grease off of traps, and there's a label on there that says do not drink. The guy that needs to read that label needs to drink that muriatic acid.
Right. Natural
Like,
selection. Yeah.
yes, and so I look at it, if you gotta have government funding, then you need to go away. Like I mean, that's just
Right.
that's just the brutal reality of it. And another thing, like, my wife and I were talking about this, like with new businesses. You see businesses popping up and they need places to be. Like, people, they got to have businesses to or buildings to be in. And all right, drive down Second Street in Memphis. It's like abandoned warehouses everywhere. All right, why? Here's an idea. Like, why don't they either one clear those businesses out, like bulldoze them? I mean, they could do it because they just took down the old Cargill stuff. I mean, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Bulldoze them, put the panels there, or hell, I don't know, put them on top of the stuff. I don't know, but like that's what I'm looking like. We need to, just like we recycle products, they ought to recycle buildings and recycle places like that. Quit taking the land and use the stuff that's already pretty much good for nothing. Like,
Right. It's already out of production.
yeah,
Well, that's it. And like a friend of ours, just put in some solar panels, and they're on the roof of his shop, and it's you don't even know they're there. Like I really don't even know that you can see them really.
yeah,
Um, and so it's like yeah, they're completely out of the way. They're not taking up any space for anything. Um, yeah, I would. I mean, I have seriously even thought about it. I was like, man, that'd be something we would want to do.
yeah. I think it'd
Um,
be neat to have kind of as like a backup energy source.
yeah, and so I'm not opposed to it, and I'm not even. I'll go a step further. I'm not even opposed to having a little government subsidy or help there for something that's so new like this, where if it just can't ever get off the ground because of funding, but there has to be a limit. Like
Yeah,
if we get 10, 15, 20 years into this technology and it's just
not
become
yeah,
increasingly apparent that there's never any way it's efficient, okay, it doesn't mean it was a bad idea. Or, I mean, it just didn't work.
yeah,
It in theory it sounded good, but it just in reality, maybe 200 years from now we can. As our buddy Jen would say, we could circle back to that technology, and or there's because of other advancements, it'll work. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want it to be a situation where we just prop it up so much with government funding that eventually, we take so much other land or other energy sources out of production to then one day be left like they were in Texas last February, where it's like, oh crap, like
yeah,
like none of this works. Like when the crap really hits the fan, we're in trouble.
yep. Bring me that diesel generator. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I think that's a good. I mean, like I said, people, we're not experts on this subject matter, but we're always open to share some thoughts. So that's kind of our breakdown of some politics, some film, and then some going green.
Yeah.
Um, so I got the company today. Now, Bobby Lee and I talked about we do typically like to give companies a shout out that we've used. I have not used no, I've not used any of this company's products yet. I got a buddy that has, and he was praising them to me, and they looked cool. I saw them. Origin U or Origin Maine is what it's called, and that's just Origin, and then Maine like the place, Maine, and they it's pretty cool, man, what they've done. Like, I know you're familiar with them.
Yeah, I've seen them coming on over the last several years. They make all kinds of apparel,
Yeah.
leather goods, boots.
Oh yeah, the boots are really cool. I've been
Yeah.
wanting to get a pair of their bison. That's like American bison boots or something, but it's really fascinating because the dude, like, so basically I think Pete Roberts, he bought like an old, what do they call the place? It's got an old, it was an old factory where they used to
An
make
old textile mill or
something like
yeah.
that, and he like had to track down old guys that used to work there to
Yeah.
learn how to like redo the machines because
Okay.
it was the man. I wish I could think of the name of the machines. People would know what I'm talking about. It's like the big threading, like sewing machines and stuff. Um, but he had to like, I mean, dudes were like old and they were coming back that used to do this, and they showed him how to do it and how to set it up, and he like had to. I mean, he talked about how hard it was to find the equipment to like bring these back. Like he was buying old pieces of machinery to rebuild these, and because he actually wanted to start making jujitsu gis in America. There was none made here, so he got into that, and then he just realized how much he liked the like American apparel and craftsmanship. So he started getting into like you say, apparel, boots, and now they have jeans. And Bobby Lee and I, we were both talking about we've probably got too much of a wardrobe as is, but I'm constantly on the search for jeans because I wear out jeans. Well, they got something called the Delta 68s. They got a really cool. The name is cool because it's based off of like the very first Navy SEALs that were formed. They were issued like some sort of pants or something, and they called them like Deltas or something. So they're named after like the first Navy SEALs. Spoiler alert: Jocko is like involved in it. He was a Navy SEAL, so that's kind of
he's an investor somehow tied in with them.
Yeah, he owns a part of it, and but. And so a buddy of mine had the Delta 68s on the other day, and he was like, "Hey man, I got on the Jocko jeans," and I said, "Okay, they're them Deltas. They looked sharp." And he said, "And I'm pretty sure they're made with Tennessee cotton." Okay. And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "I think so." And so I got to looking on their website, and I didn't see like a specific, but it said cotton grown in the South. So it's a pretty good chance. And so they're sewn and made in America. They're using American cotton. And it's really, I don't know, all that's fascinating. And they're actually getting into the camouflage world.
Yeah, I saw where they had, I guess, I don't know if you'd say they launched it, but they announced that, they would be getting into the camo and hunting.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks pretty sharp. It's kind of like tiger stripe looking camouflage.
I'm interested to see, how all it's going to go. But it's a company I've been watching, kind of keeping up with for a while. I'm like you, I've yet to actually have any of their stuff. But
yeah,
it's interesting. Maine, I've always thought, it's like, look, obviously that's the U.S. I don't know, when I think of like manufacturing, whatnot, like it's just not a very central location.
No,
I mean, I guess you can ship stuff anywhere. I mean, hell, we buy everything from China now, so that's a hell of a lot closer than that. But
I think it used to be like a really big textile town or something.
But I guess, of course, East Coast, just you think of, an industry that's really old, obviously, but yeah. So that's now I'm that they kind of like you. I've been saying, I'm like, man, whenever I need to buy, I'm going to try to buy from them. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not a practitioner of jujitsu. But they do. If I ever did, I would buy one of them because they have a gi called the 1776, and it's like it may even have like the Constitution like on it or something. Like it's got like 1776. I
would say the same thing. If I ever did jujitsu, which it's probably pretty low on the probability scale, that's probably the one I would prefer as well.
Yep. Yes. Well, yeah. Check it out, Origin, Maine. I might order a pair today. I'm gonna try to order the Delta 68s. They, I saw like you get 10% off, and I'm going to stop giving the caveat. Yes, they're expensive, but it's American made.
Yeah, but I mean, hell, have you been anywhere lately?
Yeah,
nothing. I shared a thing on Instagram. You might probably say it's a guy or somebody else that said it, that talking about small business prices are going up. I shouldn't even have to say that. Like it's, man, everything. Like, and the old saying, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
There are moments when you can get ripped off, but like, no, and it sucks. And I really, I don't want to get off too far on tangent, but thankfully, most people that are working nowadays, especially with the labor shortage over the last few years, hopefully you're earning a little more.
Yeah.
I feel for like the elderly people and all that are on fixed incomes that aren't changing because cost of food. That'll be a whole nother topic.
Yeah, it is.
And everything. And it's going up and it's going to keep going up because it's got to keep going. I mean, it's the times we're in right now. But yeah, we don't even need to give that caveat. It's better quality. It costs a little more.
Yep.
Yeah, newsflash.
Yep. All right. That's the last caveat of that we're giving. You ain't going to hear us say it again. So if later on now somebody reaches out and they're like, "Hey man, that product you recommend, it's expensive," then I'm going to be like, "Well, you have not been a loyal listener to the show." Yeah. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Go, if you're watching this on YouTube, our YouTube is slowly gaining some traction there. Appreciate everybody that's watching them. I enjoy having it on YouTube. I've even actually pulled it up on TV just to see what it looks like. But appreciate y'all watching it. If you are watching, hit the like button, hit subscribe, share it with your friends. And, it's super easy to share stuff. Like it's got the little share button on there. And if you listen to it on the podcast, leave us a rating and a review. You can rate it even on Spotify now and rate on Apple Podcast, and also super easy to share.
Yep.
So that's all I got for you.
All right. Yep. We'll go feed some animals.
I hear you. All right. Take it easy.
Have a good one.